Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at 6 games here to choose from on a Tuesday night slate in the NBA. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at the Dubs. They're at home against the surging New Orleans Pelicans. Also have another game video up for you and our player props, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also head to thelines.com. That is obviously the website we have up there with all the great content we're bringing you guys, throwing these picks up there and more. And we also have that odds finder tool on the site. You can use that to make sure that you are getting the best odds available to you in all these bets in the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump through this little 6-game slate and then talk about our game, the Dubs and Pels.
Yeah, Celtics minus 11 at Washington. No Beal or Kuzma, maybe some other guys. Washington seems to be throwing in the towel this year here. Toronto's minus 3.5 at home against Miami in a game with play-in implications. Two of the most frustrating teams to try to bet on, though. Cleveland in a pick'em at Atlanta, 235 total. We talk about that one in a separate video. Orlando plus 7 at Memphis. Ja Morant is doubtful tonight, but Memphis has been rolling at home. The Hornets are plus 10 at the Thunder. And then, we got Pels plus 9 on a back-to-back technically. Total is 234. I say technically because they played a completely tanking Blazers team that not only is starting a bunch of rookies and unknowns, but they will yank those starters immediately to ensure they lose by 30 points right now. So it's not exactly short rest, but you got to look at the back-to-back numbers. For the Pels, 4-6 straight up and against the spread, 7-3 the over, allowing more points. But the key factor for me is they actually have a better opponent's 3-point percentage. This is the number 1 3-point defense in the league. And so you play the Dubs. It's not really a coincidence that they've been able to keep these games low scoring when they've played the Dubs. Granted, Steph Curry has not played in the last 4 meetings. But, it's still very impressive what they've been able to do against a Warriors team that lights it up from deep often. 4 of the last 5 have gone under. 10 of the last 12 have gone under between these teams. So that includes plenty with Steph. You just let's zoom out and look at Steph's numbers when he did play. He is getting 31 points per game, but less efficient than the insane efficiency we've seen from him. 46% from the field, 41% from deep against the Pelicans. And Jordan Poole, ridiculously inefficient, 37% from full floor, 27% from 3, a 102 offensive rating, his last 4. The Dubs are coming off of this game where, they snap a 9-game home win streak and only scored 96 against the Wolves. And it's kind of bad news that Poole was the savior off the bench in that game, right? At least for the offense, keeping him in it. And now he's going to be feeling himself, and who knows how that's going to go against a team that he really struggled against. But most importantly, look at the last 5 for the Warriors, only getting 104 a game against these Pels with a 106 offensive rating, only hitting 11.5 threes at 34%, 19 free throw attempts, the pace down to 97.5. And that is where the pace is at. Since the All-Star break, they slow it down at home. Their defense is 20 points better per 100 possessions, which is just insane. But they're getting all their points off threes. Highest percentage, of course, because it's a Steph Curry team, 17 threes at 39%. So if you're going to hit closer to 11 than 17, we got to have a lower scoring game here. In fact, the last time these teams faced in Golden State, it was 108-99, which is way under 234. Obviously, no Steph Curry, though. Also no Jonas Valanciunas, which allowed the Warriors to kind of dominate the glass. That's not been the case for the Pels lately. He's playing really well. Ingram struggled, though, even without Andrew Wiggins, so I'm not seeing a lot of offensive firepower for these Pelicans. I think where they're going to have to try to stay in it is with defense, which has been their MO all year. 5th in defensive rating, under in 11 of their last 14 conference games, and they've climbed back into this one. Now they're a half game behind both Mini and Golden State to actually get out of the play-in after it looked like their season was over. You said they're surging. 4 of the 5 teams they've beaten are tanking, but when you lose to the Rockets before that streak, you got to bring it and actually win the games that you're supposed to win. And they've done that, and they've done it with defense. So I'm not going to try to pick a 9-point spread here. I think we definitely expect the Warriors to win. I would just look at the under. And if you want to take Warriors -5 with a higher under, I think it's not a bad spot for a tease here on a short slate.
Yeah, these Dubs, man, Jesus, that loss to the Timberwolves. It's actually, to be honest, let me be honest. The Timberwolves play the Dubs well, and I think there's correlation here because the Pelicans
So do the
play the
Pelicans.
Dubs well.
Thank you.
Precisely. Right. Correlation. I'm correlating those two for sure. And I'm saying because of the style of play, and because where they look to get their points and how they stop points. And this Pelicans defense is long and rangy and athletic. And it has been coming along all season. We haven't talked about Herb Jones nearly as much as last year. We just love to say Herb Jones, but we haven't had the chance to talk about the Pellies as much. I mean, dude, before they went on this 5-game win streak, and also, just to be clear, I just said they were surging. I didn't say they were beating good teams. So they are beating scrubs. And I did say it a little bit tongue in cheek because of who they've been playing, the Pels. But they've just been beating who's in front of them. And before that, it's not like they were beating bad teams before that. Before they went on this streak, they actually weren't beating teams under 500 nearly as much as they should have been, with a winning percentage of like 35% when they were coming in the previous games where they were the favorite in those situations. So they weren't beating bad teams. Then they did. The point is like, why? What have they been doing? And it's really just focusing on the things that they do well. Shut down the 3-ball, get out into transition when they can, and then do a good job just defending pretty much all over the floor, man. Like you said, that's been their MO all season. Before this 5-game win streak, they had the 4th worst record in the NBA after Zion went down in early January. And once Zion went down, they were cooked for a while. BI was out as well. Now they've had the consistency. I think that's a big part of it, and they've been able to get right. And I would not feel comfortable picking the Dubs to win by 9 points or double digits in this one. And that also just makes me realize, the points, they're not going to be there. Because if you look even at the previous games that these teams have played, if you just go back to even just this season, just start there, like it's blowout city usually. Like the closest game was 9 points. There was some giving up going on when the home team was just blowing out the away team, essentially, is what's been happening for them this season. And in that sense, like, I could see the Dubs doing that after a loss, but even if they get up to like 120, I just don't feel as good. I would still say it's blowout city makes it possible that this still, remains under 230 at that point, because it could be like a 120-108 game or something like that, and that would not shock me either. But the Dubs would have to get those threes up, right? They're scoring the third highest percentage of their points off of 3. We know what they do, but just narrow things down a little bit, for the Dubs in terms of those home road splits over the last like 15 games or so. I know Steph missed a few of those, but they've played 7 of those games at home in the last 15. Obviously 6-1 there versus 2-6 on the road in that time frame. But the 6-1 comes with 116 points a game and playing defense to the tune of limiting their opponent to 105 points a game, winning by about 11 points. But it's really about them limiting opponents' 3-pointers. Their 3-point percentage is still fine. It's at 38% at home, making 16 threes, but 16 threes for them is still like, if you look at the 20 free throw attempts that they're getting, right? They're not going to the line. They're not stopping the clock and getting points that way. They're not crashing the glass and getting offensive boards. They still dime up and they're getting close to 30 assists a game. But also what did the Pelicans do really well? Limit assists and limit your ability to move the ball around the wing and get open shots, etc. So yes, Steph is going to make a difference from the 108-99 total that they played at last time, probably, but he's not necessarily going to change the speed and tempo of this game. That's going to be a bit choppier, even if the Pels do try to get out on the fast break a bit. They've been getting fast break points over the course of the last like 10 games or so, even before this streak that they were doing well on. But at home, the Dubs get back on defense, unlike on the road where they don't, and they give up even more points off of turnovers on the road as well. So, I mean, that's the thing. If Golden State could just please, as we're both definitely going to be hitting this under, if Golden State could please just not turn the ball over like as dumb as possible, like the style of turnovers that they had against the Timberwolves was painful to watch. It was like, there's already a hand in that passing lane. Why are you throwing it there? But that's the case for them on the road more so. So I think at home, if they can at least just take that, like 14 turnovers, 13 turnovers, still not great, but like would be so awesome to keep this thing under. And I think that they can do that, as they've been doing that at home more so lately, limiting those turnovers. They've got 2 more on the road. So I think this is a really ripe opportunity. And this thing is way too high. Like I was very surprised to see 234.5. I think this thing goes under about 230.
Yeah, at least if they commit turnovers, just don't make them live ball turnovers. Because, I mean, the Pels are pretty good at forcing those, but they're not great scoring in transition or taking advantage of them. And I don't really trust this offense at the half court that is for
Yeah.
New Orleans very much, with CJ dealing with a thumb, with Ingram not showing much against the Warriors last time out. And I don't know if you can just pound the interior with Looney and Draymond out there. I don't know how Joe Val is going to do. So I think there's definitely, like you said, yeah, this could be a runaway for the Warriors. I definitely expect them to win, but those games have still gone under. Like, they've blown out the Pelicans plenty of times in this 12-game span, and it just shut down that offense, because without Zion, it's just not a very explosive team at all. This is what we've seen 4 months, and I'm not going to be fooled by a 5-game sample size against a Clippers team that was just like trying to find a lineup that worked, and they did last night. Congrats, Nick Batum, back to relevancy. But yeah, I think that's a total anomaly that they hit 21 threes against the Clips to get over 240 total there. I don't see this Pelicans team doing that consistently against any team that's trying, let alone a team that's an elite defensive team when they're at home.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, either way, like for the Dubs in this one, it's kind of a must win. I mean, you got to stay out. You got to stay in that play-in, and I mean they're in there, but this is a big game for both of them. And I mean, losing against the Timberwolves, man, that's how the Dubs have been playing this season. They're not going to lose 2 in a row at home, but I would prefer to have to hit that money line for sure, which is not much there for the Dubs in terms of the juice you get back on it. So if you want to parlay that, I totally get it. It's still a pretty small slate. Either way, the under on this one is probably my favorite bet of the night in general. So you've got to, it's just, you play on the Dubs, the sort of mentality that people have about Golden State, especially at home with that offense, but just dive into the numbers a little bit more deeply, look at who they're playing, and 234 is way too much. So maybe a little alternate at 230.5, get a few more, a little bit more bang on my buck there. But that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Check out the other couple videos we have up for you, including those player props. And until we see you next, happy betting.